Good morning from Hoi An. Do you trust your kids? Big question. What do I mean by that? Well, if you're not aware, we unschool our eldest and plan to unschool our youngest, but she's only 3 months old, so not have don't. Actually, no, that doesn't matter. Let me explain. Before uh, Before we had children, we decided that we would like to homeschool any children that we did have. And what that meant was, uh, what that meant for us is that subconsciously we made a decision to become teachers or facilitators of our child's education from the moment they were born. So school never even, school became an arbitrary age thing that was irrelevant to us. From the moment they were born, we were approaching life as every moment of life was a learning opportunity, and that is both for the child and for us. And we didn't expect to be world schooling, and we didn't even know about world schooling, and we didn't even know about unschooling. We didn't know about any of these things when we were preparing for this, and we we uh, we kind of grew into it. So we when our eldest was born, we started to surround ourselves by with other homeschooling families or home educating families, and we loved it. We could see how the kids were thriving, and we just felt very at home. So our child was always the smallest one there in these environments when we used to get together, which was only occasionally, but we loved it, and we could see what was happening to the children around us. Our introduction to these parents then led us to uh, discovering unschooling. And I don't want to sit here trying to put definitions on anything because I'm not a definitions person. And as I've got older, life is just about being, just being present, living in the now, and taking each day as it comes and being the best you can be in the day. Future plans are great, but they don't always work out how you want them to, and even with the best intentions. And so I've just become a little bit more, I've adjusted my belief and balances and just, yeah, a lot more present. So the unschooling aspect is very, as I say, I'm not trying to define this, but it pretty much is. It's child led. There's no you're tuned into the child, and you're letting the child indicate what they want to learn, when they want to learn, and how they want to learn. And I guess this is the fundamental reason for why I posted this question today. Do you trust your kids? Because this lack of structure requires a huge amount of trust. A trust in your child, and trust in yourself, and trust in the world around them. And it's not easy. It is not easy. It is full of complications. Um, it's full of peer pressure. It's full of societal pressures, all sorts of things that you would bounce against. There seems something innate in the human psyche that wants to compare, and you're up against that all the time. Even if you do trust, there is still a real challenge around the comparison. And as soon as you go into any kind of mainstream environment, it becomes hard to rail against that. In New Zealand, where we're from, there when you have to when you decide to homeschool and your child has to be in the school system by 6 if you're going to enter mainstream, if you don't want to enter them into the school system, by the time they turn 6, you have to exempt them, and you have to let the Ministry of Education know that you are planning to home educate your child. And whether you call it home educate or whatever, you're letting the Ministry of Education know that you're taking responsibility for your child. And they make it clear that there's no predefined way that you have to do this, but you just have to demonstrate that you are doing something. And one of the criteria that you have to address is how you measure progress. And it's very clear that you don't have to measure progress in any structured way if that's not what you want to do. And I distinctly remember reading this, and it said you just have to be able to demonstrate that your child is progressing. And you know your child better than anyone else. And so you know whether they're progressing. And so that simply could be mean, in our case, well, when she was born, she couldn't read. Well, she can read now. And she taught herself. We just facilitated. We are not teachers. We don't have any special qualifications in that area. We just relied on our intuition at the time. And as a child-led, she liked reading. She's still not even the school age. And so we did not put her under any pressure to read. She just started picking up books when she was 2. She started reading them back verbatim from memory, and she stuck with it. She just likes books. And so all we did is facilitate some phonetics and we just made things up about how you pronounce letters and what the difference between, a C in one word and a C in another word. Why is one cut and one cert? We just made something up, and just to help her get through that. And then we didn't do much more than that. Obviously, what we did do was we spent time with her. We read to her. We corrected when she needed correcting, and this was just very occasionally. And even now, we don't overcorrect her. If the words are too big and she sort of just mumbles over them, if she's lying in bed, we don't personally believe that the best thing to do is correct her at 8, 9 o'clock at night on every single word as she's reading. She just loves reading, and the joy should be in the education. She learned to swim when we had access to a pool every day, age 3. So there was nothing planned about that. We just ended up in an environment where we had access to a pool every day, and so she could go in it. And again, with no proper swimming instructions, but just being by her side, just helping her, she learned to swim. And when I say learn to swim, I mean she's not doing proper front crawl or breaststroke. It's very much around play. But can we leave her in a pool and watch her swim from one side to the other? Yes, she can. Can she put her head down and look? Yes, she can. Is she afraid of water? No, she is not. Can she do it in the sea now? Yes, she can. So, but your child will be doing other things. This wasn't about. I brought that point up to be able to demonstrate that if left to their own devices with a bit of encouragement and their own desire and curiosity, will allow them to grow. And this is very much behind the unschooling and the world schooling philosophies that Ellie and I are following. And so going back to the observation, it's around, can you demonstrate that your child is growing? So we would argue, yeah, we can, because we can see that X amount of time ago she couldn't do this, and now she can. Now, whether we document every aspect of that, we're not overcomplicating that. We've got enough challenges in life, but I'm quite systems orientated, so we are documenting certain things, but we're not obliged to on every level, and it's not to do any comparison and testing. It's more just to actually facilitate her learning. So we just use a few tools that captures her curiosity when she expresses an interest in something, because our emphasis is on play. So it's like child-led, it's play-led, and so we're fostering play more than anything else. And yeah, fostering play more than anything else. And so if she asks learning style questions, we acknowledge those questions and we make a point to record those questions, so that if she wants to go deeper and we can see that she wants to go deeper, then we'll run with it. But if it's just a kind of random question and we don't know the answer, and these are questions, these are like proper study questions. And some, I mean, some people have spent their lifetime studying some of the questions she comes up with. So it isn't the sort of thing you can answer without going down the library or getting on the internet. And right now, we don't feel that getting our daughter, age 5.5, onto the internet or down to some hugely academic library is the best thing for her. Play is the best thing for her, and she can come back to these questions in due course. So we just record these questions, and we will show that, you know, as she gets more academic or wants to sit and study or learn, self-directed, we can show her these questions and say, you know, these are some of the things you've asked in the past. You know, do these things still interest you? And I mean, the list is getting pretty long now, so there's plenty in there. Anyway, I'll digress. I didn't expect to actually talk about the way we were doing it, because the reason I was asking about the trust was the world schooling for us is just an evolution of the unschooling. So it's child-led. You know, we watch Ayla and we encourage her to mix in the cultures that we are finding ourselves in, the different environments that we're finding ourselves. There are learning opportunities all around. She's, yeah, you know, you can learn maths by playing cards. You know, she adding up bills in restaurants. You know, when I say restaurants, we're talking like, I can't even describe what we're talking about. You know, you could be eating in someone's backyard in Southeast Asia, but they still put a little menu in front of you and you can add them up. And so those all provide learning opportunities. And kids are observant. You know, our little one picked up the reading from reading books back verbatim. But then when we started traveling, we noticed that the things like menus, she'd pick up menus. So kids can do this. So anyway, we're very comfortable in this unschooling, world schooling, child-led, child-directed environment. And a big part of that is down to trust. It's trusting that she is going to flourish and she is going to thrive. And we do not need to police our child's learning. She's naturally curious, and this is the philosophy. Children are naturally curious and naturally want to learn. And if we facilitate that and nurture that and foster that, then their brains are perfectly capable of learning anything they need to learn. And us trying to put rules and rigidity around that isn't necessarily the best thing for them. I personally did not fulfill my potential in school. I did not enjoy school. I would not describe school as probably my biggest failure, although that's argument, you know, I'm tripping up and failing all the time. But I certainly did not fulfill my potential at school. And yeah, on lots of levels, I didn't particularly enjoy it. I didn't hate it either, but you know, it was just a bit of a non-event, and I couldn't wait for it to finish. So I look at my child now, and I don't want that to happen for her. And I just look at the way she is responding to life in general, and she seems to be growing, and she seems to be fine, and she can hold her own in this, that, and the other. In fact, yeah. So I have to constantly visit this myself in my head, go, well, if she could learn that, she can learn other things when she's ready. And I don't have to force it on her. I can feel when friction comes up when we try and push her too quick, too far. And it's completely unnecessary. And so we've developed a couple of mechanisms where uh, if we are in a learning mode and it's like there's definitely some learning opportunity, and we've kind of dropped into teacher student mode. We've given her some signals that she just has to say, Daddy, I've had enough. She doesn't have to explain why or anything like that. Daddy, I've had enough. And then that's the signal that whichever level of frustration may be coming up on her part or my part or mummy's part, it's just like, okay, yeah, let's go and play. Let's go outside. Let's do something else. Get your toys out. Get your whatever, and let it go. And so the longer we're away and the more we mix with other families like this, the more we are seeing other children that are much older than Ayla, and they're just inspiring. The way they communicate with each other, the way they communicate with their peers, their friends, the way they communicate with us, their interests, their hobbies, the way they behave. I love it. I love it. I look at these kids and I go, wow, yeah, that's awesome. Just keep on trucking. And whenever you talk to any other unschoolers, whenever we've talked to any other unschoolers, they all are grappling with some level of insecurity. Everyone worries about their children being the best they can be. But the ones we've talked to that have been doing it a wee while clearly trust themselves. They believe in themselves to let their kids be. And I guess that's what's at the heart of it. And another reason I wanted to bring this up is because the other day, Ellie and I came across something called the Sudbury system. And so lots of people try and put labels and names on the different types of schooling. And I said at the beginning of this, I didn't want to. And because we don't function like that. We just want to function in the present and be in the present and trust that us and our children will thrive. And then out of the blue, some people we know who are in a different part of the world, they shared something they were doing around something they called the Sudbury system. So we was like, oh, what's that? And if you go to Wikipedia, there's not much, but it's like a definition of what the Sudbury system is. And Ellie read it out, and she's like, oh, well, I think that's what we're doing. Not in a structured school environment, but the philosophy around letting the children be, but it's just in a kind of structure that allows a collection of people in one physical place to gather. So Sudbury is a place it's named after Sudbury, Massachusetts. Back in the 60s, I believe it came about. But you need to read it to understand the level of freedom, trust, and responsibility that exists, that needs to exist inside this environment. And I would imagine if you've never come across this, it would be quite uncomfortable because it requires an incredible level of trust. So, yeah, just however you are educating yourself and your children, I ask you and encourage you to place trust in your child and foster their curiosity rather than their actual subject matter, topic matter. Foster their sense of curiosity, foster their sense of learning so that they actually love learning. That was something I did not have when I was a kid. I did not understand the power of learning for learning's sake. I'm not saying you should learn for learning's sake, But if you actually enjoy learning, then you're going to be fine. And I guess after a sort of dead 15 years after school, I came to education as a mature student, and a penny dropped about I love the love of learning. And now I just see myself as a perpetual student of life. And I'm not taking tests or anything like that, but I'm constantly learning. And I guess that's another thing. We are being very intentional in explaining to our children that they are our teachers, that they are teaching us. So we explain to them that the world is their teacher. So it's not just mummy, daddy, it is, every person they come across, whether that's a formal relationship or an informal relationship, and the same applies to us. And our elders can see that we are also readers, and we study, and we're constantly got our heads in books or listening to podcasts or, acknowledging new things that we've learned. So hopefully that, by demonstrating that we're students, that she sees herself as a perpetual student, and there's no arbitrary start date, finish date of a school year or school life or anything like that. So, yeah, if you're curious about world schooling or unschooling, check out the definition of Sudbury, because that's about as close as, although that looks like it's kind of geared to being in a physical place, the philosophy around the learning, I guess, is as most in tune with how we are approaching unschooling, learning, and world schooling. And so, yeah. Do you trust your children? Good question to ask. I can't answer it for you, but they've got a lot inside them, and I believe in them. Not just mine, I believe in your kids as well. Let them learn and watch them thrive. Okay, on that note, have a great day from wherever you are in the world. This is Colin Clapp, Parenting Passports and Profits. If you see this on YouTube, remember to give us a like or a thumbs down or a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Okay, enjoy your day, enjoy your evening. Until next time, take care now.